They exiled her to die, but the human brought her back, defying the entire empire. The twin sons of Velhara burned the sky as guards dragged Thalia by her wrists across the dry red plains. Her skin was bruised, her silver eyes dull. Around her neck, a metal collar buzzed with energy set to explode if she tried to escape. She was no longer a citizen of the Empire, no longer a person in the Empire's law. She was now erased. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She had already done that for 3 nights in the prison cell. Now, she just walked barefoot behind the armored soldiers, step by step, toward the exile gate. The wind blew dust across her face as the steel gate opened with a loud screech. Beyond it, nothing but endless wasteland, poison storms, ancient ruins, and death. A priest in dark robes stepped forward and read the sentence aloud. Thalia of House Kor, for treason against the crown and spreading forbidden truth, you are hereby exiled to the Deathlands. Let no one speak your name again. Thalia raised her head, her lips cracked and dry, but her voice clear. I told the truth. That's my only crime. The crowd behind the gate was silent. Not a single face showed sympathy, not even her own mother, standing at the back, looking away. One guard gave her a hard shove, and Thalia stumbled forward past the gate. It closed behind her with a boom that echoed across the desert, sealing her fate. She was now alone. Hours passed, maybe more. She walked with no direction, no water. Her throat burned, her legs trembled. Birds of prey circled above, waiting. Sand covered her feet. Her collar beeped once, warning her. She was now outside the safe zone. 1 more mile and it would kill her. Thalia fell to her knees. The wind howled louder here. The ground was cracked and broken. Her body shook from heat and weakness. She thought of her father long dead, and how proud he would have been that she spoke up. She smiled bitterly, then closed her eyes, ready for the end, but far above the planet. Orbiting quietly in his ship, a human pilot named Race sat alone, scanning the lower hemisphere for heat signals. He wasn't supposed to be here. Humans were not allowed in Velharan airspace without permission. But Race had always been the kind of man who listened more to his gut than to rules. And right now, his gut told him something was wrong. A weak, fading signal blinked across his screen, barely there, but clearly organic, clearly alive. He adjusted the scanner. No one should be in that sector. It was a death zone, marked off-limits, even by Velharan law. Race narrowed his eyes and leaned back in his seat. Computer, confirm life form, he asked. Affirmative, the AI replied. Signal consistent with female Velharan physiology, pulse weak, respiration unstable, fatal within 1 hour, if untreated. Race cursed under his breath. He could ignore it. Fly away like nothing happened. That's what the protocol said. He had no legal right to land, no permission to interfere. But his fingers were already on the controls. The ship dipped through the atmosphere like a falling star, clouds burning around its hull. Alarms rang inside, but Race didn't care. The reading grew stronger as he got closer, and then he saw her, a small, curled figure in the sand, unmoving, covered in dust, her silver hair blue in the hot wind like threads of ash. He landed fast, engines still hot, and jumped out, running toward her. Thalia felt the ground shake and thought it was just her mind playing tricks before death. But then cold metal touched her skin, and a voice spoke above her. Hey, stay with me. I got you. She opened her eyes weakly and saw a strange face, flat, rough features, brown eyes, short dark hair. Human, she thought. Her body flinched from fear, but she had no strength left to fight or even scream. Race didn't care about her fear. He had seen this kind of look before. Soldiers, bleeding out on battlefield dirt, helpless, eyes full of pain. He reached into his belt, pulled out a small injector, and pushed it into her arm. It beeped once. The serum spread through her veins, slowing her heart just enough to keep it beating. Who did this to you? Race muttered. Thalia barely moved her lips. The Empire said I should die. Race looked around the empty wasteland, then back at her. Not today, he said. He lifted her gently into his arms, ignoring the collar that buzzed dangerously near his chest. He didn't know her name or what crime she had committed, but something inside him knew he couldn't leave her here. As his ship lifted off, the tracker in Talia's collar blinked, read someone in the Empire had just been alerted that she was no longer where she was supposed to be, and the man who took her a human. That made it worse. Far away, inside a royal chamber, a hologram blinked on, and a voice said, "Sir, someone has interfered with the exile protocol." The Emperor leaned forward, his eyes darkening. "Who?" "Human signature." The reply came, "Race Mercer of Earth." The Emperor smiled coldly. "Then, he has just declared war." The hum of the ship was the only sound inside the small med bay. Thalia lay on a narrow cot, her body wrapped in thermal blankets, wires and monitors tracing her heartbeat. For the first time in hours, she wasn't burning or freezing. She was somewhere between sleep and awareness, drifting in and out like waves crashing gently over her mind. Every now and then, she opened her eyes, just a little, and saw the human moving around the ship, quiet, focused. Race didn't speak much, not yet. He was busy repairing a cracked power cell and locking down the med systems. The girl he had just rescued had a collar around her neck that could still explode, and that made things complicated. He had disarmed hundreds of alien tech traps in war zones, but never one attached to a living neck with a blinking red light that meant dead any second now. He kept glancing at it while his fingers worked, eyes narrowing as he followed the blinking rhythm. She stirred, and he turned toward her. "You awake?" he asked. She didn't respond, but her hand twitched. That was enough. He sat down beside her, careful not to touch the collar. "You've got about 20 hours before that thing finishes its countdown," he said. "So if you want to live, you'll have to trust me." Talia's voice was barely a whisper, but it reached him. "Why did you help me?" she asked. Race leaned back, his jaw tightening. "Because you were alive. That's enough." She stared at the ceiling, her silver eyes glassy. "No one helps the exiled. Even my own kind didn't look back." Race shrugged. "Good thing. I'm not your kind." The collar beeped again. Faster now. He stood up and moved to the wall console. "We've got one chance," he said. "This collar is ancient Velharan tech, but I've seen something similar on prisoners of war." He tapped the console, pulling up a schematic. "I need to stop your heartbeat for 10 seconds, just enough to fool the failsafe and restart the sequence clean." Talia's eyes widened. "You're going to kill me." "No," Race replied calmly. "I'm going to almost kill you, then bring you back." She hesitated, but her voice was firm. "Do it." He injected her again, this time with a thinner needle and a silver vial. "This will slow everything down," he whispered. "When I say go, hold on, even if it feels like you're slipping." The moment came quickly, and as the medicine began its work, her body went limp. Her heartbeat slowed to a soft whisper, then nothing. Race's hands flew across the console, rerouting energy to disable the collar's detonator. The red light blinked twice, then stopped. He didn't waste time celebrating. He grabbed the paddles, counted to 3, and shocked her chest once. Her body jerked, then again. Harder this time. Talia gasped and choked, her eyes snapping open in pure panic. She sucked in a desperate breath as her heart restarted. Race sat beside her, breathing hard. "You're good," he said. "You made it." She looked down at the collar, blinking green now, not red. "It's deactivated," she whispered. "You really did it." Before he could speak, the ship's alert buzzed, an incoming signal, encrypted, from an Empire military beacon. Race opened the feed, expecting static or a warning. Instead, a cold voice spoke clearly. "Race Mercer of Earth, you have violated Velharan exile protocol and interfered with Imperial justice. You are now declared a hostile actor. Surrender the subject immediately, or face annihilation." He stared. at the screen, then slowly reached out and turned it off. Guess I just made some powerful enemies, he muttered. Talia sat up slightly, still weak. You don't have to do this. They'll destroy you. This isn't your fight. Race looked at her, and for a moment, he didn't answer. Then he said, it wasn't, but now I know your name, and I've seen how they treat their own. He stood and walked to the ship's cockpit, entering a new destination into the nav system, a place no Empire patrol dared enter, a place for people who didn't exist in the eyes of the galaxy anymore. Talia watched him in silence, her thoughts racing. This human didn't know her, didn't owe her, and yet, here he was, risking everything, breaking laws, saving her life again and again, for the first time in her life. Someone was willing to fight for her without asking for anything in return. Outside the ship, stars blurred, as Race's vessel jumped to faster than light speed, but inside, something even more powerful was beginning to awaken in Talia Hope. If you're ready, I'll begin part 3 next. Just say start with part 3 inches, and I'll continue with strong suspense and twists. Race had flown through asteroid belts, war zones, and black market corridors. But never before had he felt the weight he now carried. Not from Talia's body light and fragile, as she rested on the medbay cot, but from the choice he had made. By saving her, he hadn't just broken rules. He had broken an ancient law, written in blood and fear, and now he could feel the Empire breathing down his neck. He stared at the stars ahead, not really seeing them. The navigation path blinked softly on his console, but he wasn't watching it. He was listening to the silence behind him, the kind of silence that always comes before a storm. Then his ship's long-range scanner pinged. Once, then again, something was following them. 2 vessels. The AI reported. Empire-class scouts, modified for silent pursuit, speed increasing. Race didn't curse, didn't panic. Instead, he turned slowly, walked back to the medbay, and looked down at the girl he had risked everything for. Her eyes were open now, wide and alert. They found us, he said simply. She sat up, wincing as her muscles protested. They won't stop, you know that. I figured, Race replied. He tossed her a small handheld device. They want you dead, so whatever truth you're carrying must be big. It's time you tell me what I just threw my life away for. Talia held the device in shaking hands. I worked in the temple archives. My job was to scan historical codes from the old empire before the crown took over. One day I found a file encrypted, hidden under 30 layers of false data. Race raised an eyebrow. So you found a secret file? That's worth exile. She looked up, her voice hard. It wasn't just a file. It was a record. A genetic map that showed humans had been to Velhera long before the Empire claimed first contact. According to it, Chur people didn't just arrive. They created us. Race blinked. The words didn't quite fit into his brain. What? Thalia nodded, her voice trembling now. The ancient bloodlines, the royal genome we're so proud of. It's not ours, it's yours. The first Velherans were a hybrid mixed with early human DNA. The Empire knew. They hid it, because it would destroy their claim to rule. If we're not pure, the divine right collapses. Ray stared at her, the pieces falling into place like thunder. So you told someone? She nodded slowly. A mentor. I trusted him. He handed me over to the crown the same day. I was arrested at sunset. The ship jolted. The scanners screamed louder now. Incoming weapons lock, the AI said. Shields compromised in 42 seconds. Race rushed to the cockpit, fingers flying across controls. We can't outrun them forever, he muttered. But maybe, just maybe we don't have to. He triggered a fake distress beacon, setting it to broadcast on all civilian emergency frequencies. Then he tapped into the encrypted human war relay, an old ghost signal from the last galactic war, used only by deep cover operatives and band pilots like him. He didn't say much, just one line. Pilot Mercer requesting Black Echo backup. Empire's hunting knowledge, it wants buried. Then he shut it down and turned back toward Talia. You Better hope your truth is worth dying for, because I just painted a target on both of us the size of a star." But she was already standing, her body still weak, but her gaze steady. "You're the first person who ever listened. If I have to die, I'd rather do it with someone who made it matter." The ship shook again, this time harder. A beam sliced past the hull, scorching the exterior. Alarms rang. Then, in the middle of chaos, the radar blinked with a new signal. Race's eyes went wide. "No way," he whispered. Out of the void, a giant black ship appeared, silent, unregistered. Human design but decades ahead of anything still in production. A ghost ship from old war legends. Known as Black Echo 9, without warning, it fired 2 plasma lances straight through the Empire scouts. They exploded instantly. No warning, no time to evade. Just like that they were gone. Race sat back in his seat, stunned. Talia held onto the wall, her breath caught in her throat. The signal came through, just a voice, male, deep, full of gravel and shadow. "Message received. Mercer, package is now protected. Proceed to Nexus 7, you'll be met." Then silence. Again, Race didn't smile, but something in him relaxed for the first time in hours. He looked at Talia, who was trying to make sense of what just happened. "You just started something bigger than both of us," he said, "and now, the whole galaxy's going to feel it." She didn't reply, but her expression said everything. This wasn't a rescue anymore. It was a war of truth, and she wasn't running anymore. Race's ship slipped into the gravity well of Nexus 7, an abandoned relay station once used for galactic diplomacy, now considered a dead zone, broken and drifting between trade lanes. No one dared come here anymore, not unless they were ghosts, rebels, or both. But Race had been here before, long ago during the tail end of the Orion siege, and he knew one thing for certain: it was still listening. Thalia stood at the viewport, eyes fixed on the shattered remains of a once glorious station. "This place was used for peace talks," she said quietly. "Now it's a graveyard." Race didn't correct her. He just said, "Graveyards are the best place to hide the truth." The ship docked with a soft magnetic clamp, and Race led her through the corridor. Blasters ready, but no shots fired. The halls echoed with silence, walls cracked, lights flickering like tired stars. Then, without warning, a panel slid open, and out stepped 3 figures, humans, fully armored, their faces hidden behind matte black visors. One of them stepped forward and spoke with a clipped voice. "Data package verified." Thalia stepped back. "You said we'd be met," she whispered to Race. "You didn't say bye, assassins." Race raised a hand. "Relax. They're Echo operatives, not here to kill you. They're here to protect what you know." The lead figure turned to Thalia. "Your information threatens not just the Empire, but the power structures of 16 aligned governments. If you move forward, there's no going back." Thalia looked him dead in the visor. "I already died once. What else can they take?" The operative nodded. "Come." They were taken to a small underground vault, one that pulsed with energy and stored tech that hadn't seen sunlight in 100 years. Inside, Thalia uploaded the original file she had copied from the temple. Archives. It took only 30 seconds to decrypt it, but the moment it opened, Race felt the weight of what they'd uncovered. The display showed a timeline, stretching back tens of thousands of years. It named the first hybrid project, labeled Genesis, Human Valharan Interface. It detailed DNA splicing, early colony management, cultural implantation, all leading to the rise of the modern Valharan race. And stamped at the bottom, clear and undeniable, was the seal of early human command, United Terran Expansion Authority. The room was quiet for a long time. Then Race broke it. "They built their empire on a lie, and you're the crack in the foundation." Talia's hands trembled slightly as she backed away from the screen. "All my life, we were told humans were beneath us, that your blood was weak, corrupt, that the Empire was pure." One of the operatives leaned in, voice lowered. "Do you know what happens when a royal bloodline is exposed as fake?" Civil war, riots, collapse. Of divine leadership, millions will die, not all of them guilty. Race turned sharply. So what? You want to bury this again? No, the man said, but we'll need to be smart. Truth without strategy is just noise. The station suddenly rocked hard. An explosion outside. Red warning lights flashed, and alarms screamed to life. Unidentified Empire cruiser, just exited warp. The AI screamed, "They're here." Race grabbed Thalia and bolted toward the exit with the operatives. How the hell did they find us? The lead operative shouted, "You brought her in. Her collar, even deactivated. It's still a tracer." They ran through the corridors, boots hitting metal. As the station began to shudder under weapon fire, debris rained from above. Thalia nearly slipped, but Race caught her arm and pulled her forward. As they neared the docking bay, the blast doors closed before them, sealed by remote lockout. Race cursed and activated a side panel, fingers racing. "They're locking us in to bury the evidence. Empire doesn't want survivors, just silence." The operative handed Thalia a small cube glowing blue. "That's a hard copy," he said. "Run with it. Protect it. If we die, don't let the truth die with us." Race hacked the door, and it burst open. They sprinted to the ship just as another round hit the station's spine, fires bursting behind them. They took off, metal screeching, shields flickering under impact. Thalia clutched the cube against her chest, eyes wide with terror and resolve. "They'll never stop now," she said. Race flew through the wreckage, jaw tight. "Good," he growled, "because neither will we." As the station exploded behind them, and the stars opened once more ahead, the war for the truth had officially begun. The stars looked peaceful from the outside, but inside Race's ship, tension thickened with every passing second. Dahlia sat silently, holding the glowing data cube close. Her fingers had stopped shaking, but her eyes hadn't stopped scanning. Every shadow, every panel, like something might burst through it. She had been exiled to die, survived it, and now carried the secret that could burn an empire down. Race checked the scanner against till clean. No tail, no pings, but he knew better. The Empire didn't give up after one failed hit. They'd be back, and next time, they'd bring more than a cruiser. He slid into the pilot chair, punched in new coordinates, and didn't look back. "Where are we going?" Thalia asked, voice quiet, uncertain. "To someone who owes me," Race muttered. "A man who lives off the grid. Smart enough to hide from the Empire. Crazy enough to help us anyway." Thalia leaned back, her thoughts heavy. "Why do you keep doing this?" she asked. "You could have left me in the desert. You could have walked away when they attacked the station. Why keep risking everything for me?" Race didn't answer immediately. He looked ahead, the stars stretching out like roads only he could see. "Finally," he said, "because I've seen empires lie before. I've seen them bury the truth under rubble and silence. But I never had proof, not until now." The ship dropped out of FTL near a frozen moon, orbiting a dead world. On the surface was a black mountain, or so it appeared, until the side of it opened, revealing landing lights in the shape of a hidden fortress carved into ice. "This is where we'll find Corin," Ray said, powering down the ship, "if he's still alive." They entered the fortress through a narrow passage of steel and frost. Inside, lights flickered awake, as if sensing their presence, and then movement. A hulking figure stepped into view. An ex-soldier turned cybernetic recluse, skin covered in scars and armor. Corin blinked his one human eye, the other replaced by a glowing red lens. "Race Mercer," he rumbled. "Didn't think I'd ever see you again, especially not with Imperial heat on your tail." Race smirked. "I bring trouble, yeah, but I also bring a game changer." Corin's eye narrowed at Thalia. "She's the exile, isn't she?" "She's the truth," Race replied, "and we need your vault." Corin led them deeper, down past steel gates and sealed bulkheads, into a room lit by cold blue walls and humming machinery. There, they connected the cube to the main terminal. And for the second time, the forbidden knowledge unfolded, a mix of human and Velharan genetics, ancient splicing records, protocols detailing how human DNA was used to build the earliest Velharan ruling caste. Corin watched in silence, then finally spoke. This changes everything. Race nodded. That's the idea. But we can't do it alone. We need Ali's people. Who can spread this to every system before the Empire finds a way to spin it or destroy it again? Corin tapped his metal fingers on the console. I know someone. Her name's Naira. Broadcasts from deep space relay towers disguised as mining stations. She gets messages out where others fail. But she wants proof, not just files. She'll want to see you. Talia stood straight. Then I'll go. Race turned sharply. It's too dangerous. They're looking for you. Naira's station might already be compromised. Talia didn't flinch. They tried to erase me and failed. They tried to kill me and failed. If I hide now, then what was the point of surviving? Corin looked at her for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. She's stronger than she looks. They made plans quickly how to get to the relay, how to cloak the ship, what to do if captured. Race didn't like it, not one bit, but he knew she was right. The truth meant nothing if it stayed locked in a vault. The galaxy needed to see her, needed to hear the truth from the one they exiled. Before they left, Corin handed Talia a small device Elastra-sort beacon. If they catch you, press this. It won't save you, but it'll send out your final words across every open channel. Let the stars carry your truth. She took it silently. As they returned to the ship and prepared to launch toward Naira's station, Race looked at her. One last time before takeoff. You sure you're ready? Talia smiled, for the first time without fear. I was born for this. The engines roared to life, and as they vanished into the void once more, Race couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change, not just for them, but for an entire galaxy built on lies. The mining station floated like a rusted nail in space, spinning slowly above a gas giant that glowed with swirling colors. Nothing about the station said important, and that was exactly why it had survived. This long, hidden beneath its broken antennas and flickering lights, was one of the most powerful, independent broadcasters in the galaxy near. The voice of the unseen Race's ship coasted in under silent mode, its heat signature masked, weapons powered down. It looked like nothing more than debris until the docking clamps clicked into place and the airlock slid open. Talia stepped out first, draped in a simple cloak to hide her features. Even so, she felt eyes watching from every wall. She'd never felt smaller, yet never more determined. Naira's people met them without names, silent and armed, leading them through twisting corridors filled with dust and old banners from forgotten rebellions. Everything about the place whispered resistance. Finally, they arrived at a chamber deep in the station, where thick cables lined the walls, and a central chair was surrounded by floating screens. In that chair sat Naira Hoff-Machine, half woman, and entirely focused. Her skin was pale, her cybernetic implants glowing faint red, but her eyes were alive, sharp, dangerous. I don't broadcast lies, she said before anyone spoke, so if you brought rumors, you're wasting my time. Ray stepped aside, revealing Thalia, who lowered her hood and stared Naira directly in the eye. Then you'll want to hear this. Naira watched the girl for a long moment, then gestured. Speak. Thalia told her everything, not just the exile, not just the data, but what it meant. She showed her the recordings, the genetic code, the symbol of the long-dead human authority stamped beneath Velharan royal files. Every word she spoke stripped a layer of fear from her bones. She was no longer hiding, no longer begging. She was declaring war with truth. Naira sat in silence as the last file finished loading. Then she smiled, slowly, like someone who had been waiting her whole life for this kind of chaos. You'll be dead in 3 days, she said. The Empire won't just kill you, they'll erase every record, burn every corner of space you touched. But she stood from her chair. Before that happens, Let's make you a legend. She pressed her hand to a panel, and the walls lit up thousands of relay connections, waking up across distant systems. One by one, then everything went wrong. The station shuddered, lights flickering red. A sharp alarm blared, one that Naira hadn't heard in years. Incoming vessels. Someone shouted. They're not marked no ID. No Calcine's race swore. Under his breath, blackout ships. Talia turned to Naira. What does that mean? Special ops, Naira replied grimly. Empire assassins. The kind they send when they don't want witnesses. The power cut out for half a second, and in that instant, the doors exploded. Heavily armored soldiers poured in silent, fast. Lethal Race drew his weapon and fired, dropping two before they could aim. Naira slammed her fist into a console, activating emergency lockdown. Talia ducked, heart pounding. Data cube clutched to her chest. Her ears rang with gunfire, screams. Metal against metal, Naira shouted. They're here for you. Get to the vault. Race pulled Talia behind a steel wall, shielding her from a grenade blast that shook the corridor. They'll kill everyone to keep this quiet, she cried. Race turned, eyes wild. Then we don't let them win. He grabbed a data rod from Naira's terminal, loaded with the files, and handed it to Talia. If we don't make it, this has to go out. Naira threw them a side key. Escape tunnel leads to a drop pod. It's old, but it'll fly just barely. Race grabbed Thalia's hand and ran, every step echoing with gunfire behind them. One of Naira's crew took a bullet and fell. Beside them, Race didn't stop. The pod was hanging in the Dark One's seat. One shot. You go, Race said, pressing the rod into her hand. I'll hold them. No, Thalia snapped. Not again. You saved me once. Now I save you. Before he could argue, she shoved him inside, slammed the door, and punched the launch. The pod shot out into the black like a comet, carrying the truth across the stars. Behind it, the station burned, but not in silence. Before the last antenna was destroyed, Naira sent one final signal and censored, untraceable, and aimed at every open channel in the galaxy. A voice filled the airwaves. My name is Thalia. They tried to silence me, but I survived, and now I bring you the truth. The pod drifted through deep space, spinning slowly, its engines long since cold. Inside, Thalia floated weightless, half awake, her breathing shallow. The transmission had been sent, the message delivered, but at what cost? She didn't know. If Race was alive, if Naira had survived, or if anyone had heard her voice echo across the stars. All she knew was that she had done it, spoken the truth aloud, and now she waited. The galaxy, however, was no longer silent. In the weeks that followed, her broadcast systems that had once bowed to the Velharan Empire began to question their loyalty. Some called it heresy, others whispered it was destiny. The words of a dead girl carried more weight than entire fleets. And then something unexpected happened. The pod was picked up by a scavenger ship on a trade run between two moons. The crew, half human, half synthetic, recognized her immediately. They didn't kill her, didn't sell her. Instead, they bowed. You're her, the captain whispered. The one who defied them. They patched her up, gave her food, let her rest. When she asked about Race, their answer was slow, careful. No one's seen him since the attack. But some say he escaped, others say he stayed behind so you could live. Thalia didn't cry. She simply nodded and stood, the data rod still around her neck. She asked for a transmitter, just a small one, and made her second broadcast. My name is Thalia of Velhara, she began, and I am not dead, across the galaxy. Rebels replayed the message on loop, in marketplaces, under bridges, in the shadows of slums and ruins. Her voice became a spark. Race's name was whispered beside hers, not as a legend, but as a symbol of unity, of sacrifice, of what humans could be when they chose to stand for something. On Velhara, the Emperor watched it all unfold, rage boiling inside him. Fleets were sent to silence the chaos. But for every outpost destroyed, 3 more rose in its place. They carried her symbol, now a broken collar wrapped in fire. Then one day, an entire battalion defected. It started with a single ship, then 2, then a squadron. They sent a message. We stand with the exile. In that moment, the empire cracked, not from bombs or invasions, but from inside. From soldiers who once enforced exile, now choosing to follow the truth instead. Thalia stood at the center of a rebel command base, no longer wearing the clothes of a prisoner. Her hair was tied back, her posture firm, but her eyes were still the same, sharp, alive, dangerous. She had stopped being a victim. She had become a voice, a movement, and more than that, a challenge. They called her the banished light, the one who turned exile into revolution. She stood before a crowd of exiles, humans, hybrids, and those with no home left, and said, "They threw me away, but I returned, not as their prisoner, but as your echo." They wanted silence, so I gave them thunder. Behind her, on a silent hill, just outside the base, a new monument had been built, a statue not of her, but of race, standing tall, one arm outstretched, reaching back toward a figure in chains, lifting her up, no words on it, just a symbol they both had come to represent, a flame breaking through steel. She visited the statue every night, alone, whispered words no one else heard. Then one evening, as the sun of that strange new world dipped beneath the clouds, she heard a voice behind her. "Hoarse, tired, but familiar. Took you long enough to make me famous." She turned, heart pounding, and there he was, bruised, older, limping slightly, but alive. "Race," he smiled. "Heard you've been causing trouble without me." Thalia didn't answer. She just walked forward and hugged him, like the world might end. And when she pulled back, she whispered, "We're not done yet." Race grinned. "Good, because neither am I." Above them, ships rose into orbit, not of conquest, but of change. The exile was over, the fight was just beginning, and together, they would lead it, from silence to fire, from exile to echo. They never expected her to survive. They never imagined she'd come back with a human, and they never knew the galaxy would follow.